Right. Okay. So it's starting now.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yes.
So yeah. Hi, Aurelien. This is Nadia. It's so nice to see you.
Hi, Nadia. It is great
Yeah.
to see
And
you.
yeah. Finally, right? Finally, we're able to meet each other after some time.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm happy to hear your experiences today, and I'm looking to hear your stories as well about your study abroad experiences. But before we go any further with your stories, can you please introduce yourself?
Sure. So my name is Aurelien, for short Ori. That's what people call me. I'm from France, and I'm currently based in Mexico at the moment.
Nice. So, where did you study before?
So I studied in Los Angeles at UCLA,
Oh,
University of California, Los Angeles.
mm-hmm.
Very
So
nice
how is,
university.
yeah, definitely very nice university, very prestigious university as
Ex-
well.
exactly. That's
Yeah.
one of the reasons why I choose that school because really
Mm-hmm.
it's quite world famous. I think it's very
Yeah,
well
it
known.
is. It is. So how was the application process to UCLA? I think it's very on demand. So there's a lot of international students out there who really want to go to UCLA. So how was your experience during the application? What do you think you need to prepare for it and everything?
I understand. So for me, it might have been a little bit different because I was
Mhm.
already in the US. So it's actually quite a funny story because I talked to the HR at the school,
Mhm.
and because I was already on a working visa at the time in the US,
Yeah.
they told me that I would have to exit the country. I would have to either go to Canada or Mexico in order to do the
Okay.
visa application. But for some reason, I tried to send a document to the Department of Immigration in the US
Mhm.
with all the documents. I included everything. Like it was very, very organized. I tried to include, bank accounts. I had to
Mhm.
show proof of my current visa, what visa I wanted to change to, so how to become a student visa, and also my previous studies,
Yeah.
photos. I had a lot of information, and I tried to send that to the immigration department. And
Mhm.
I think in a matter of 2 weeks, I got a response saying that my visa was approved. And
Oh,
it's quite
fantastic.
unusual because when I went back to UCLA to the school office,
Mhm.
they told me that it rarely happens. Like normally, you really have to exit the country, and you need to apply from abroad.
Yeah.
But in this case, I didn't have to leave the country. So maybe my experience might differ from other people,
Yeah.
but for me, it was quite easy actually.
Mhm. All right. That's great. So how was the university application process itself? I mean, it is very tough to get the admissions to UCLA. So what do you think are the most important things that students have to prepare for university application if they wanted to go to such a prestigious university like UCLA?
Sure. So I studied acting. So that's also
Mm-hmm.
maybe a field that is, I'm not sure, less taken maybe by people
Mm,
in general.
yeah.
But for me, it was not so complicated to get into UCLA, like in the acting field, at least. I had to show my previous studies, of course, into the same
Mm-hmm.
similar fields, similar subjects, which I did, and just fill up the application. And that was quite easy actually to get into that. Well, that was also a few years back. Maybe that changed
Yeah.
now.
Really. So when did you first come to the US?
So I came to the US as on a working visa in
Yeah.
2009,
Mm-hmm.
and then I worked there for about a year and a half before applying for the student visa.
Mm.
So I
Okay.
started as a student maybe in 2011,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So how was
and
your
then
experience?
no, I was just about to say, and then I studied for the next 3 years at UCLA. Yeah. And I had extra classes at SMC, Santa Monica College. Sorry.
Okay. So, yeah, how was your experience the first time you were there in the US in 2009? Was there any culture shock or things like that?
Um, so yeah, I mean, it's very different from France for sure.
Mhm.
Everything is big. You know, in Europe we have small cars, and in the
Yeah.
US everything is like big cars. People drive all the time. It's impossible to walk anywhere. You know,
Mhm.
while in Europe we walk to places, we take bicycles, and I was very lucky to work with a family, and they had a car for myself, so I was able to adapt quite easily to
Mhm.
the US lifestyle. But yeah, it's a very different mentality, and I was very curious to know about, you know, the how do people study in the US, the campus that
Yeah.
we tend to see on TV, in movies.
Yeah.
So that was very interesting for me to do that.
Yeah, indeed. Was there like such a huge difference in terms of the education system or like the education environment in France and also in US?
I think it's mostly due to like the campus and the facilities that they have in the US, maybe because most universities in the US are private,
Mm.
versus in France tends to be public, so they have less funds. But I mean, the US and France and Europe in general are quite similar in term of culture, let's say. So maybe that wasn't as a big shock as when I visited other places. Like I
Hmm.
spent some time in Asia and I spent some time in South America, and the culture shock is a little bit bigger there because it's
Okay.
very different from the
Yeah.
culture in Europe.
Yeah, definitely. So, like, why did you decided to study in UCLA?
So, well, because of acting. Acting. I
Yeah.
mean, if you want to study acting, I think Los Angeles is the best place to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Just in terms of networking, in terms of teachers. I mean, I had great teachers. I had teachers who were working with, you know, A-list celebrities,
Yeah.
with very well-known producers and directors. So, and they're still teaching in school, which is quite an amazing. I mean, maybe we
Mm-hmm.
don't have so much of that in France, but I feel like that's a very US thing to do when, you know, you become someone maybe not famous, but, you know, high quality career. Then you try
Yeah.
to give back and you tend to teach in
Mm-hmm.
universities. So
Yeah, I
that's
think that's
mostly why I choose Los Angeles specifically,
yeah,
and
I
then
think that's
UCLA,
really
the
wonderful. Yeah.
reputation. Oh, it's amazing. It was an amazing experience for sure.
Hmm. So,
Definitely.
how was your overall experience studying at UCLA? I mean, aside from the amazing teachers that you have and also the amazing connections, how was the overall study
So,
experience?
so, so I talked mostly about everything that is great. I mean, that was an amazing experience, like I said. It's definitely more expensive than
Yeah.
France or than Europe. So that was maybe the downside of it, is that, you know, it's, as a student, you're still allowed to work part time. So
Hmm.
I was able to work in the US in order to afford also rent, and also, you know, the extra things that you want to do during your free time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's definitely more expensive. But other than that, um, yeah, it's just a great experience also to learn a language. I mean, when I first moved to the US, I couldn't speak English,
Oh.
and right now I can speak a little bit better, let's say. So it definitely helped. It definitely helped for sure, for sure.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah, I think when it comes to foreign languages, practice is the key, right? The more you
Oh,
practice, the
it's
more you will master the language.
definitely, definitely. That's another big reason why moving abroad, studying abroad is very important. Just in terms of you know, opening your mind on different aspects of the world. The culture can be very different, so it's very interesting to experience different cultures, and also learning language for sure,
Yeah.
and seeing like how they teach in other places than back home. Definitely,
Yeah, definitely. I think learning language is like getting more and more important, and it's gonna, like open so many doors if you can speak more than one languages right now.
that's very true. That's very true.
Hmm.
English is very popular. Spanish can be very
Yeah.
useful. Chinese as well. I know a lot
Hmm.
of people starting to learn Chinese.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are many languages that are very important, and I think it's great. It also gives you the ability to talk with the local people to
Yeah.
discover more of the real culture behind. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that's also very nice to be able to do that. Definitely.
Mm-hmm. That's right. So after 3 years of studying in the US, so what do you think are the benefits that you get from studying abroad?
So definitely putting that I studied in the US on my resume definitely helps for me to find job and find work.
Mm-hmm.
I think people feel very like they hire me quite easily. I mean, I worked after that in Japan. I worked in different countries, and it
Mm-hmm.
was very easy to find work. So that definitely helped. And I think it's mostly about the degree, the education that you get, and the quality of it
Yeah.
mostly.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree with that. So, and also I noticed that you mentioned you travel a lot. Like you've been to Asia, you've been to South America, you've been to the US. So,
Yeah, that's right. So after, sorry, you can go
yeah,
ahead with your question.
continue. Continue.
No, I was just about to say after the US, I moved a lot. I lived in Australia where I studied a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
comedy because I was very afraid of comedy at the time. I love acting. For me, it's great.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoy learning it. So when I moved to Australia, I studied comedy and stand up and
Mm-hmm.
clowning, which was very interesting as well. And then worked in Japan and moved a lot. I think I spent a few years in Asia and yes, mostly.
Mm-hmm. So I'm also curious, like, how has all of these travel and living abroad experiences shape you, and also shape the way you think, the way you behave, and everything?
So definitely, I mean, Australia is very similar to the US as well.
Yeah.
But spending so much time in Asia, for me, that was the culture shock because everything is different. The
Mm-hmm.
people are different. The culture is different. Also, back in the days, I mean, no one had a smartphone when I remember,
Mm.
and I didn't have a smartphone, and local people were making fun of me because I didn't have a smartphone, and they were like, "Where's your smartphone? You're from France," and I was like, "I don't have one." So it was very interesting at the time, and the food is, the spices. I mean, everything is a different world. Thailand, China, Japan, all those countries have a very strong culture that is completely different from Europe. And yeah, it's amazing to be able to travel, to live there, to spend time in those countries for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
It's
that
one of
must
the
be.
highlights of my traveling life for sure.
Yeah, that must be amazing experiences, right? To be able to see the world and like see different things and experience it.
Exactly. And trying to, adapt to the people as well. I try to learn a few words of the language to try
Mm-hmm.
to get around things, to try to order food, to try to get into the bus, and so on. So it really opened my mind and my how can I say that? Yeah, it opened my mind on the rest of the world. The world is so big, there are so many
Yeah.
countries, so many religions, so many
Mm.
different, yeah, so many different things that are very specific to countries. So it's great to be able to see that and to be able to experience it actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. That must be very, very wonderful. Right. So you're now in Mexico?
That's right. Now I'm in
Right.
Mexico. I've been here for almost a year, mostly
Okay.
working from here and also learning Spanish, which is great. I get to learn
Mhm.
one more language. It's always good.
Yeah. So what are your future plans after this?
So I spent since studying acting, I
Yeah.
spent most of my life mostly moving around and trying to live in different places, trying to learn from different cultures,
Mm-hmm.
experiencing different countries in its way. And now I think I do miss acting. So my goal would be at some point, quite soon, I believe, to move back to Los Angeles and to really start to work there.
Mm-hmm.
Because after my studies in UCLA, I started getting work in the acting industry, in the cinema industry,
Yeah.
and I think it's a lot about networking. So being there on the spot and meeting people and volunteering at places and also through schools, you get to network
Mm-hmm.
so much.
Yeah.
So I was really getting work. And I think by going back and maybe continuing some studies, or maybe, I'm not sure exactly, but I do for sure want to get back into acting in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, I wish
That
you
would
all
be
the
such
best.
a, sorry?
I wish you all the best. Maybe I'll see you
Thank you so
on the
much.
screen.
Thank you so much. That will be such an interesting path, though, coming from France, studying in the US, and then 10 years later coming back.
Yeah.
quite, quite unusual, but why not? Why not?
Yeah, why not? Why not? So my last questions would be, do you have any suggestions that you'd like to share with future international students, especially in regards to their plans in studying abroad? And also, you can answer
Okay,
this in English and in French as well. That's fine.
sure, sure. I can also answer that in French. Perfect. Well, I would definitely suggest them to do it for sure. I mean, like I said, I repeat myself, but it was really an amazing experience, and I think it really, um, I used to be very shy, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you don't feel it, but you can see the difference from, when I was 19, I was very shy. And by forcing yourself to move to a new country, to talk to people, to practice the language, to discover new activities, new things that maybe you were not used to, it not only develops your mind, but also your social skills. So, I mean, I would definitely tell people, just do it, do it. I mean, if you get the chance to really study abroad, you have to get that opportunity and you have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Definitely. Do you want to add
Yeah,
your
I
answer?
think, sorry. No, I was just about to say, I think it's very important, even more with this, the new generation. I mean, everyone is connected, but still
Yeah.
being able to live in a new country and finding a house, finding restaurants, also finding new friends. This is a
Mm-hmm.
whole new process, and
Yeah.
I believe it really helps people to learn about all those new skills that needs to be acquired, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree. I mean, you can see it on YouTube and everywhere else right now, but if you experience it personally, it feels different. And then it shapes you in a way that, I felt that a lot of these experiences you can't really get it back home. So it's
Mhm.
very unique
That's
to you,
very
and
true.
then it shapes you, and you can discover yourself and discover your potential more.
That is very true. And you get to, maybe you don't need to judge it, but at least you're getting different cultures. I mean, also, India, China, US, Europe, they're
Yeah.
all quite different cultures.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great to have an understanding and, to be able to understand it, to be able to accept it as well, that
Yeah.
it's different. And
Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. Yeah. Diversity is beautiful, right?
Sorry.
Diversity is beautiful.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Diversity is amazing. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
All right.
There's so
Yeah.
many
So.
beautiful things in this world that makes us so different from each other. I mean, this is great
Mm-hmm.
to be able to be
Yeah.
so diverse and bring something new to the table as well.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. Yeah. And I think, like being abroad, it opens your eyes, right? You if you're
Oh,
in your
yes,
home country, you're basically in this safe bubble where you see the same thing every time. But if you're out,
exactly.
there are so many more in the world that you can see and experience.
It forces you to be mature so more quickly. You
Yeah.
have to to deal with yourself. Actually, you have
Mm-hmm.
to make it happen, and that's the best way to learn about life and to learn much faster in general.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. All right. Yeah. So I think that's the end, Aurelien.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for sharing your stories and your experiences.
Of course, no
Mm-hmm.
worries.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
so happy
been
to be able to
really
share
great.
that as well, so people can actually, experience it too. This is
Yeah,
very important to also give
definitely.
back to new generation, and so that they're also able to understand that it's an amazing opportunity that is just waiting for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I wish you all the best for your future plans.
Thank
Maybe
you
I'll
so
see
much,
you
Nadia.
one day
That was
on the
great talking
screen.
with you. Thank you. That's great. Where are you located in? I
Oh,
mean, just a side question.
I'm located in Indonesia right now. So I'm actually from Indonesia. Yeah,
That's great. I've never visited Indonesia, but I'd love
you
to. I'd
should.
love to. I know
You
the
should.
culture is very strong there too,
It is. It is. Yeah.
for sure. Very kind
Hmm.
people, I heard. So yeah.
Very kind people, and then very, you know, our food is full with spices.
Oh
So it's
yes.
kind
Oh
of
yes.
hard when I traveled to Canada last time because I feel everything else felt very bland.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So
But
yeah.
it's interesting. So many differences, for sure.
Exactly. Exactly. You let me know if you visit Indonesia. Maybe if you are in Bali.
Oh, you're based in Bali. Oh, that's great. That's great.
No, I'm based in Surabaya, which is very close to Bali. It's like 30
Okay,
minutes
perfect.
flight to Bali.
Oh, that okay. That's yeah. Indonesia is
Mhm.
actually pretty big. That's true. That's true.
Yeah, it's very, very big. I haven't been to like all parts of Indonesia because it's too big.
Oh wow, I can imagine. Yeah, yeah, for sure. And also many different cultures in the same
Yeah,
country.
that's right.
So
Many different cultures, many different languages as well.
this is beautiful. Yeah, this is so
Hmm.
great. Fantastic. Thank you so much for the call
Thank
today. For
you.
sure.
Thank you so much for the call today, Aurelien.
No problem. Thank you.
Have
Bye
a
bye.
nice evening then. Bye bye.
You too. You too. Bye bye.